Hello again, YouTube. It is time for another video. Today we are going to be talking about Erikson's psychosocial development. Today I'm going to be reading through a little bit about his various stages. They usually take place in the course of a human's lifetime. So the first one is trust versus mistrust. This happens at year 1. This is usually a baby, an infant. It's that time when they decide who they can really rely on, who they want to avoid, not be around. It could come from like getting that trust from the warmth of and the heartbeat of the mom that they know and love, versus like strangers that might scare them or freak them out. After that comes year 2, which is autonomy versus doubt. This is when children start to develop a greater sense of self-control and they feel free, but to kind of take on a little bit more themselves, to try and move around a little bit more, explore a little bit more, kind of become a little bit more self-reliant and not need to be carried everywhere. But it could also lead to a sense of shame and doubt if like the parents tend to push back on them and and kind of force that exploration and like area, which leads us into years 3 and 5, which is more initiative versus guilt. And this is when children can definitely become more assertive in taking on tasks. I want to help out. I want to do this. I want to do that. But again, if you push back on that, you can really start to develop that guilt, or like, what did I do wrong? Maybe I shouldn't have done that, and regret on kind of like kind of taking on these challenges, when they're trying to take this initiative, or they make that push to kind of be more helpful and to do more things and being more assertive. This leads us into when they start to go to school, which is, again, where we're talking about in our educational class, the most is that industry versus inferiority. This happens from 6 to 12. This is a huge developmental stage for a child's like self-worth, self-value. It really gives them that feeling of what they can do, what they can accomplish, what they're capable of, really. And this is a great time for having great teachers and great role models in their life to lead them, where like things like homework and tests and assessments and projects can give them that feeling of accomplishment and worth, and that they're doing something really, really, truly great, and something that they're really, truly proud of. But also, again, this could also, if not catered right, or done right, a child could feel more of a sense of inferiority or failure, or I'm not good at this, or I can't do this, if they're not given those abilities or the tools to work their way through things. They could feel more of a sense of failure, or a sense of a lack of confidence. Which brings us now to 12 to 18. This is the identity v role confusion. This happens 12 to 18, which are like the teen years. This is when their body is undergoing like changes. This is when girls and guys are starting to develop more, huge growth spurts, sexual organ development. This is a huge for the self-confidence of the kids. This is when they start to develop their feelings of self-worth, or how true they can say to themselves and who they are and who they've grown to be through their industrial versus inferiority, and obviously all the skills that they've picked up to then, and I guess their identity of who they've kind of become up to this point. But it could also be a time of depression or lack of self-confidence if they don't like who they've kind of become in their lifetime up until this point. So that can also equally be a negative. After that comes intimacy versus isolation. This is when you start to look for love. And this is where one will take risks in opening up to more people, kind of putting more trust in more people. This idea of like shared connections, bonds that you grow, intimacy. This is where they're taking risks and they're going out there. But I mean, also again, with anything comes risk. I mean, can lead to a lot of heartbreak, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and a lot of these things can lead to more isolation, more unhappiness. Again, it could lead to questioning that self-worth again, and and doubts on yourself. After that comes generativity versus stagnation. This happens between 40 and 65. I guess to put it best, it's sort of like, what are you bringing to the table, or what did you bring to this world, and what is the mark you're going to leave on society as a whole? And to a lot of people, this comes in the form of offspring and nurturing. Maybe it could be like some great work you did over the course of your lifetime. But then again, it also can have negative effects. Maybe if you didn't accomplish the things, at least in your own self-confidence and self-psyche, that you didn't have the ability to bring this to yourself. And this could also lead to negative feelings and regrets in life. Which finally brings us to integrity and despair, which happens at 65 on. This is kind of like the reflective time of your life, where you look back upon how your life was, and how fondly you look upon it, or how regretful you are about it, on the life that you lived and were able to accomplish in your years on this earth and in life. Next, we're going to be talking a little bit more about social emotional development. Social emotional development is basically a child's emotional management, experience, and expression, and their ability to kind of develop constructive relationships with others. So this is kind of just a view of how a child develops, both like kind of emotionally through their experiences, how they interact with others, and all the things that kind of go into it. And some of the terms that we learned about over the course of the readings and the learnings were things like responsive caregiving, which is a technique that's used where you pay very close attention to the signals or the feedbacks that you're getting from a child, and it allows you to provide appropriate responses that meet the needs of what the child's asking for, and to help them out. Then we also talked a little bit about emotional security, which is kind of a value that's given on how stable can a person, the ultimate stability level of a person's like emotional state. Like, what is the level, I guess the sort of the breaking point, or where's the point where it kind of reaches that level and of that feeling of security in their emotions. Temperament is basically the nature of how people act and the nature that helps them to that sort of affects how they behave or how they carry themselves in society. Emotional regulation is our ability to calm down, to adjust, or to recognize even when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're mad. We work a lot on this at school with the kids. We talk about zones of regulation and understanding what things you can do. What if you're angry? How do you calm down? This all falls under emotional regulation. Impulse control is our ability to handle those impulses in our lives, to maybe not necessarily do the right things at times, or to avoid like impulses to overeat, or to procrastinate, or there's various other ones. And unfortunately there's some disorders which would make it harder for people to control, like an impulse control disorder, which would make it really hard for someone to control those impulses. And there's techniques and trainings and counseling and all sorts of various helps that you can get to help you better control your impulses. Social understanding is kind of like that defined term that as you're growing up as a child, you need to have some sort of social understanding to know how to react to others, how to deal with others, and that ability to separate your own emotions and your own needs from someone else's needs, and to in like a social interactions. and this ability to understand others' needs is vital to building social relationships in life. Other terms that we learned, the last few terms that we learned, affective is the moods, feelings, and attitudes of one person. Empathy is their ability to understand and share their feelings about something. Self-efficacy is kind of learning, that learning in life that plays like a huge role on how you tackle various challenges in life, or how you go about doing things in life from all your I guess experiences in life, or I guess you could even call them schemas in life that you've kind of developed over time. And then overall, we ended on with sense of self, and that's kind of how we value ourselves, or how we value our own self-worth, or what we're worth in a society today. So socio-emotional development is really a very I guess development based on that emotion of how we deal with things in society, and how we make friends, how we carry ourselves, how we do things, how the relationships we build, how we handle obstacles and challenges in life, and how we care for other people, or think outside of ourselves. And these are all really, really great things that socio-emotional development tackle. But I've talked for quite a bit of time, so I'm gonna wrap it up. This has been another of my great talks. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like and subscribe if you like listening to videos about different educational theories, and I will catch you next time.